Hello! In the following, I would like to talk about international applications that disclose microorganisms or other forms of biological material. I would like to give you a bit of a background to this particular subject matter. Then I would like to talk about some of the timing issues for making a deposit of biological material. What are the particular PCT requirements which apply in this area? And then, of course, I also would like to talk about the applicable time limits. So let's talk about the background here first of all. Under the national law of many countries, there is a requirement when you are disclosing an invention that concerns biological material that it's not good enough that you simply describe in words what this invention is all about, what this microorganism is all about, but they would need to see a live sample of this biological material so that they can really take a detailed look at the particular invention. Now, since some of these microorganisms are actually potentially a little bit dangerous and they have to be kept in a very particular manner, the patent offices are really not equipped to receive the live samples of such microorganisms. So instead, the patent laws and the patent offices of the world would like you to deposit the live sample of this microorganism with a recognized culture collection. And so to facilitate this process of making such a deposit, a treaty was concluded, and that is called the Budapest Treaty. And the Budapest Treaty really is there to facilitate the process of making a deposit, and it says that basically by making a deposit with one of the recognized international depository authorities, such a deposit will automatically be recognized by all of the contracting states of the Budapest Treaty, which means that the applicant really only needs to make one deposit and it has the effect that it's recognized by all the contracting states. And the PCT takes this one step further. It even obliges all PCT contracting states to acknowledge and to recognize such a deposit, even if they are not also a member state or a contracting state of the Budapest Treaty. So let's think about the timing issue of when you have to make such a deposit. Well, usually when you file a PCT application, you start out first filing a national application of which you claim priority in your PCT application. So in the majority of cases, at the time when you file your PCT application, you probably have already made your deposit. If you haven't, really the key thing under the PCT is the deposit needs to be made before the filing of the international application. But keep in mind that the national law of many offices might even require that the deposit needs to be made before the initial national or regional application of which you claim priority in the PCT. So in all likelihood, what an applicant will do is make the deposit, file his first national application, and then before the expiration of 12 months, he or she will file the PCT application. Where the national law of at least one of the designated states in the PCT application requires that such a deposit needs to be made, then it's important that the applicant includes in the PCT application a reference to the deposit that he has made. And this serves usually to enable the full disclosure of the invention. If you want to know what the requirements of the various national offices are, take a look at the PCT Applicant's Guide, in particular Annex L of the PCT Applicant's Guide, and there you find information what the particular requirements of each and every designated office are. And there you would also see if a particular country does require that already at the time of filing you include a reference to the deposit in your international application. So if there is a contracting state, and there are several of them, and since you automatically designate everyone, most likely, of course, you will have a PCT application which includes the designation of such a state, then you need to include a reference, and that reference needs to essentially include 3 pieces of information. First of all, the name and the address of the depository institute where you have made the deposit, the date of the deposit, and then also the accession number that was given to you by the depository institute. In addition to these three requirements, if such information is available to you, a lot of national law or the national law of many of the contracting states would also like you to include relevant information on the particular characteristics of the deposited biological material. So how do you provide such a reference in a PCT application, and more particular in the description of a PCT application? There are essentially two ways to go about it. Either you draft a separate paragraph which includes at least the three pieces of information that I just referred to, or alternatively you can include a form which is PCT RO 134. You can include that form in the description of your PCT application, number it as one of the pages of the description, and usually applicants put it at the very end of their description. And in that form there's space provided to fill in the data, the three pieces of information that I referred to earlier. And then when you include it by way of this form, again, it will be part of the description. So these are the two methods to get the reference to the deposited biological material into your international application. Now, it's also possible to furnish other reference to biological material, not in the description, but together with your international application or subsequently. And that information would then also be published together with the international application, not in the description itself, but together with the international application. So what kind of other optional references could you furnish? Well, for instance, there could be a statement that you would only like an expert in the art to have access to the deposited biological material. If the person who deposited the biological material is not the same person as the applicant, some national laws would also require that you show an authorization that the depositor really allowed the applicant to include a reference to the deposit that he or she has not made him or herself. There are also two forms under the Budapest Treaty that applicants sometimes furnish to us and that we would also then include in the international publication, and that is form BP for Budapest Treaty 4, which is an acknowledgement of receipt by the International Depository Authority, and there is form BP 9, which is basically a viability statement, a statement from the IDA, the International Depository Authority, that your microorganism is still alive and kicking. What's the time limit to furnish the reference? As I said before, because of the national law requirements, the three pieces of information which are the really most essential reference, they need to be there at the time of filing, and that's why you put them in the description. For the optional references that I just referred to, there you have a time limit of 16 months from the priority date or until completion of technical preparations for international publication, which is 15 calendar days prior to scheduled international publication. So I hope this short presentation gave you an overview of what happens if you have a disclosure of a microorganism in your international application. I talked about the requirements for making a deposit with a recognized international depository authority. I also mentioned that you need to make a reference to such a deposit, which hopefully you made before the time of filing of your PCT application, and you need to refer to this in your PCT application. And I would like to invite you, if you're interested in further information about the subject, to consult the PCT Applicant's Guide, which has, of course, much more information on the subject of microorganisms and biological material in an international application.